Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Everything Wrestling. Today we will be focusing on WCW Halloween Havoc from 1989 through 1991. Now, obviously, there was a lot of matches that happened during those times, but basically we picked out our favorite ones and the ones that stood out, and also the ones that allowed us to recreate in figure form. So sit back, relax, and get ready to go down nostalgia road. First up, from Halloween Havoc 1989, the match that stood out to us the most, or one of the matches that stood out to us the most, was the match between the Skyscrapers, which was Sid and Dan Spivey, against the Road Warriors. Back then, the Road Warriors pretty much ran wrestling. The old school NWA Road Warriors were nothing to mess with. And the NWA slash WCW had put together a team, which was the Skyscrapers, which matched up very well with the Road Warriors in terms of size and power. Um, so as you can see in the recreation, we got Sid doing the test of strength with Hulk, and then you can see our custom Dan Spivey in the background. Now, for our Dan Spivey, what we did was we used a Mean Mark figure, gave him the cloth elbow pad and a custom head. So pretty much that's the easy, if you want to do Dan Spivey, that's the easy way of doing it. But the match itself was hard hitting as you would expect it. Overall, pretty good for the two big men and what you would expect from guys that size. The match ended in double disqualification because, again, you can't have either one of them lose and look weak. So, pretty good match. I say check it out. But let's move on. Now, the main event of Halloween Havoc 89 featured Sting and Flair against Terry Funk and Muda in the Thunderdome cage. Now, for those who may not be familiar with the Thunderdome cage, pretty much it was a steel cage that had electricity on top of the cage. It was a kind of a quirky concept, but for the time span that it came in, it looked good. I mean, in my personal opinion. Now, shout out to my boy Bud Lightyear, who pulled off this photo with the custom Muda. Which, side note, so glad Mattel got us Muda, and now we have that coming. I think early, either towards the end of this year or early next year. I can't wait. And it's so nice to finally be able to have him as a legit figure. But anyway, back to Halloween Havoc. So both of these battled in the cage, and pretty much the only way to win the match was one of your designated corner men. So for Sting and Flair, it was Ole Anderson, and for Muda and Funk, it was Gary Hart. Your corner man had to throw in the towel. That was the only way you could win it. And it was a pretty good match. It was a pretty good match. A couple of good spots. Bruno Sammartino was the special guest referee, so that tell you how far we going back. But overall, pretty good. Uh, of course, Sting, and I ain't gonna say of course, but Sting and Flair definitely won. Gary Hart threw in the towel as Flair had Flair had Funk in the figure four, and Sting just kept coming off the top, hitting them with splashes. So, like I said, check out the match. It was definitely something that you need to check out. So now we're moving on to Halloween Havoc 1990. Overall, that particular event, the overall card was kind of lackluster. Um, the main matches that stood out for me was the match between Doom and Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and then the Stan Hansen against Lex Luger was pretty good. But the match that we want to focus on today was Sting against Sid Vicious for the NWA World Heavyweight title. So again, we want to send a shout out to our buddy Bud Lightyear for pulling off this photo. As you can see in this picture, he gave us the whole setup. We had the Halloween Havoc setup with Sid, and rest in peace Sid, and Sting. And it was overall it was a pretty good match. As we know, Sting came out on top, but through research, I actually found out that Sid was supposed to win that match. He was but I think they changed it at the last minute and had Sting go over in that match. So yeah, check it out. Now we are approaching Halloween Havoc 91. And again, another lackluster card for Halloween Havoc. The biggest thing that stands out about Halloween Havoc 91 was the Chamber of Horrors match. If you ask anyone what do they remember, and a lot of people would tell you that they would try to forget the Chambers of Horror match, but it was something that was done for the first time, but the execution was terrible. If you have a chance, go check out that match. If you don't watch that event, just check out that particular match. The fact that they tried to put Abdullah in an electric chair and electrocute him in the cage. I mean, I don't need to say anything more, but our buddy Bud pretty much reproduced that electrifying event through the figure photography right here is pretty much all I can say. But if you have a chance, check it out. It's definitely worth seeing if you've never seen it. But if you've seen the event, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of spots were missed. A lot of things happened through that match that kind of failed, and it was kind of a crap show. But for that time, because we didn't have the technology back then and behind the scenes and that whole thing. I mean, it was okay. It was okay, but looking it back now, yeah. But yeah. So hopefully you've enjoyed chapter 1 of our Halloween Havoc series. But we are planning on coming back with a lot more and covering a lot more events. But we're hoping that this walk down nostalgia brings back a lot of memories, because again, from WCW to NWA to WWE or WWF, it's a lot of moments that we all grew up on, and we're planning on bringing it to you in figure form. So make sure, if you haven't hit that button, subscribe to the channel so that you stay informed. And until the next time, y'all stay blessed out there.